Hey scholars, this is going to be my last chapter for today, chapter 2. We're going to add some more words to our glossary as we're getting started today. So make sure you've got some paper and something to write with. It doesn't matter if it's a pencil or a pen or a marker, just something that you can take some notes with for yourself as we are reading today. So this is chapter 2, warm-blooded and cold-blooded animals. Rattenborough here again. In the last chapter, you learned how scientists classify living things into groups called kingdoms. You learned about animals and plant kingdoms. You also learned that animals and other living things are classified into more specific groups. Today, you will learn more about the animal kingdom. You will learn that there are many kinds of animals that have different characteristics to divide the animal kingdom into more specific groups. So you can see down here, the caption says scientists classify living things by different characteristics. Remember, characteristics are those different things that we can observe with our senses in order to classify other things. So the animal kingdom, remember these are the 5 kingdoms. Today we're mostly talking about the animal kingdom, all of these things down here. The first word I want us to add to our glossary today is warm-blooded. And this word is hyphenated, warm-blooded. And I'm going to divide my paper so I've got a space for my word, the meaning, and a little picture for an example. When we draw pictures and use visuals, that helps to make a memory for yourself. As we learn new words, it's important so you can understand what you're reading. So here are some examples of some warm-blooded creatures. I see a chimpanzee, a cow, and a little kitten. So let's take a second and you can make a little sketch of one of those warm-blooded animals. I'm going to just draw a little cat for myself. Just a little sketch to remind me as we are moving on. And here's my definition. So warm-blooded means having a constant body temperature. Mammals are warm-blooded. And you are a mammal, so you are warm-blooded. I'm going to write my definition down. Having a constant body temperature. And I know a temperature is a measure of how hot or how cold something is. Sometimes people will say, I think I'm running a temperature to mean that they're sick, but that actually just means that their body is warm. You have a fever, that means you're sick. The temperature is the measure of how hot or how cold your body is. So having a constant body temperature, mammals are warm-blooded. All right, moving on to our next word, interesting. So I've heard of warm-blooded, now we're talking about cold-blooded. Cold-blooded. Cold-blooded means only able to control body temperature. Oh, and we have another actually warm-blooded creatures trying to come in. Just come to join us today. But these cold-blooded animals are only able to control their body temperature by using surroundings in their habitat. And an example that it gives us are reptiles, are cold-blooded. So you can see I am just making my notes like this. And since it says reptiles are cold-blooded, you know, an example of a reptile is a lizard. So I'm just gonna make a little sketch of a lizard for myself. It does not have to be perfect as long as I can remember when I go back to it later. I actually turned it into more of like an alligator or a crocodile. All right. The next word that we're looking at is mammal. M-A-M-M-A-L, mammal. And a mammal is an animal that gives birth, has hair, feeds milk from its own body to its young. This is a long definition, so take your time and pause if you need to. And is warm-blooded. So reading that description, an animal that gives birth, I know humans give birth. Humans have hair. Humans feed milk from their own body to their young, females, and humans are warm-blooded. We don't have to go sit in the sun in order to stay warm. Our bodies just regulate their temperature themselves. So actually, that means that humans are classified as mammals. So in my drawing for mammal, I'm going to draw a little stick figure person so I can remember I'm a mammal. Humans are mammals. Our next word is probably familiar, but we're going to make sure that we can read all of these syllables. That's important so that we can comprehend and understand what we read as we go. This word is crocodile. Moving on to my next page since I ran out of space. Crocodile is a large reptile that lives near water and has thick, scaly skin and very strong jaws. You have more than one crocodile, add an S suffix, and that becomes crocodiles. So I'm going to write that down very quickly. A large reptile that lives near water and has thick, scaly skin and very strong jaws. All right. So now we can draw a little picture of a crocodile. You can make that a little sketch for yourself. You can see mine's kind of goofy, but I'm going to get that thick scaly skin and very strong jaws in there. So there's my little crocodile. All right, this is a multiple meaning word, scale. So a scale can be something that you use to measure. A scale could be something that you use in music, but in this case, a scale is a thin, small disc on the outside of some animals, such as fish and reptiles. If you've ever gone fishing, you may have felt some of those scales on the fish. But we have skin. We're mammals. We don't have scales. Some other animals like fish and reptiles do. And a reptile is a cold-blooded animal, meaning that they have to get their heat from going into the sun, and they have to stay cool by finding an environment that's colder. A cold-blooded animal with tough, scaly skin that uses its surroundings to control its body temperature. I know that I have a friend from college and she has some snakes as pets. They live inside a little terrarium, and she has to have a lamp inside because that lamp gives them heat. If they didn't have that heat, they might die because their bodies would get too cold. So snakes are an example of a reptile. I'm going to draw a little snake for my example here. And once you're ready, you can move on. Since some of these definitions are longer, remember to pause if you need more time. And this word constant is another word that you might hear more often as constantly, turning it into an adverb. So constant means unchanging. So it's something that is not changing. So a constant, for example, is that my hair is brown. It doesn't change from day to day. That's something constant. All right, and temperature has a lot of syllables. Let's make sure we get all of those letters. T, E, M, P, E, R, A, T, U, R, E, temperature. I found 4 vowel sounds in that word, 4 syllables. Temperature. Temperature is the measure of how hot or cold something is. If you're measuring more than one temperature, you might add an S to make it temperatures, plural. All right, and we're ready to start reading. So you've got your glossary ready to go. Make sure as we are reading through these word scholars, I'm using my best smoothness, pacing, expression, and phrasing. If it gets a little bit too fast for you on my pace, just pause, go back to where you can find where we are, and then you can start reading along with me again. Remember, it's important to follow along so that I'm not the only one reading. I want you to be reading as well. Many animals, such as mice, rats, cows, elephants, tigers, and even people, belong to the group called mammals. So you and I are mammals. All mammals have hair, but some have more hair or fur than others. You have to get pretty close to an elephant to see its hair, but it is a mammal. Another characteristic of mammals is that they give birth to live babies. Mammal babies begin breathing, moving, and looking for food as soon as they are born. Mammal mothers make milk to feed their newborns. This is another key characteristic of mammals. So other animals may lay eggs, and the babies inside the eggs have to take more time to grow before they can hatch. Mammals give live birth. That's something that makes mammals unique. So here are mammal mothers who feed their babies milk from their bodies. Here is, I'm not sure what kind of monkey that is, a deer, a golden retriever, a pig, a cat, a cow. These are all examples of mammals. Do you think a crocodile is a mammal? Answer, no. Why not? Crocodiles have scales, not hair or fur. Crocodiles lay eggs, and baby crocodiles hatch from those eggs. A baby crocodile does not get milk from its mother. Its first meal might be a bug. Later, he'll eat bigger animals. Crocodiles belong to a different group of animals called reptiles, along with snakes, lizards, and turtles. And I can see some photographs over here of the animals we just described and a crocodile hatching from an egg. So as soon as it comes out of the egg, it is ready to start eating meat. Remember, crocodiles are carnivores. This caption just says crocodiles, snakes, lizards, and turtles are all reptiles. Scientists also classify animals as mammals or reptiles based on how the animals control their body temperature. All animals need to keep a constant temperature inside their bodies for their bodies to work properly. If an animal gets too hot or cold, its body will not work the way it should. An animal may become sick or even die. Mammals are warm-blooded animals. When warm-blooded animals are in a cold place, they use energy from food they eat to help keep their bodies warm. Some warm-blooded animals shiver to keep warm. When they shiver, their bodies make heat to keep warm. So if you've been outside on a really cold day, you might have started shivering. That's your body trying to make sure that you stay warm enough for everything inside to work properly. So this caption says, when a person shivers, his or her body is using energy to keep him or her warm. When warm-blooded animals are somewhere hot, their bodies react in a different way to cool off. Some warm-blooded animals, like people, sweat to stay cool. Dogs pant to stay cool. Other warm-blooded animals drink lots of water as a way to cool off. Did you know that cows need to drink need to drink almost a bathtub full of water a day? Warm-blooded animals act in different ways to maintain a constant temperature inside their bodies. Mammals can live in habitats with different temperatures because their bodies do not rely on the environment. Warm-blooded animals, like mammals, must eat often to make energy to heat or cool their bodies. Most warm-blooded animals need to eat every day. Some need to eat every hour. And here's a photograph of a dog. The caption says, "Dogs pant to stay cool." So that's one way that dogs can regulate their body temperature as warm-blooded creatures. Reptiles are cold-blooded animals. The body temperature of cold-blooded animals changes depending on the outside temperature. They become hot when it is hot outside and cold when it is cold outside. But cold-blooded animals must also keep a constant temperature for their bodies to work properly. Cold-blooded animals do not use energy from their bodies to stay warm or cool. Instead, they use what is around them to help keep warm or cool. Crocodiles stay in water or mud in order to stay cool on hot days. If they need to warm up on cooler days, they bask in the sun. And here are our photographs showing cold-blooded animals like these crocodiles cool off by taking a swim when it's too hot. When it's too cool outside, they warm up in the sun. While warm-blooded animals can live in just about any habitat, cold-blooded animals can only live in certain habitats. Cold-blooded animals do not need to eat as often as warm-blooded animals. This is because they do not need lots of food to make energy to warm or cool their bodies. Most crocodiles eat only once a week, but can live for months and sometimes years without eating. That is something that the author taught me about this topic of animal classification. I did not know that most animals, I knew that most animals need to eat, but I didn't know that crocodiles could go for years. That's really interesting to me. And we see this diagram again, and the caption says, reptiles are one group of cold-blooded animals. What other animals are cold-blooded? Mammals are warm-blooded animals. What other animals are warm-blooded? So we could actually use this to answer those questions. So reptiles are cold-blooded. Some animals that are cold-blooded here. I see snakes, lizards, and crocodiles. And mammals, so elephants, are another animal that is warm-blooded. All right, that's actually it for chapter 2. Scholars, thank you for following along. If you would like to ask any questions, you can comment on our Google Classroom page, and I will get back to you as soon as possible. You guys have a great afternoon, and maybe go, I'd like to challenge you to go outside and classify some animals of your own. I know since it's springtime, I've been seeing a lot of insects and birds outside in my backyard, so you might be able to classify some of those with their characteristics as well. See y'all next time.